team. Welcome back to another episode of I May Be Wrong But I Doubt It. This is your host, Jacko. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to talk about the England versus Argentina semi-final match and what was said and how the game went and who is primarily at fault. Now, I want to show some few results. England versus Croatia. England lost 2-1 after scoring first. England versus Italy. They lost in penalty after scoring first. England versus Spain. They lost 2-1. Spain scored first. They drew 1-1, but they lost 2-1. England versus Argentina. They lost 2-1 after scoring first. You kind of detect a pattern right here, right? And let's just call this Exhibit A for now. So you and me, I think most of us, after watching the game, we left start thinking that this coach is a real madman, because some of the decisions that which were made were just crazy. I personally couldn't believe what I saw. I remember after the match, discussing with my friends, I was like, even I could have done a better job than what I saw in that match. But it's not after I dissected the game, listened to various analysts, I listened to some of the players, the coach, and I went back and looked at some highlights and so forth, that my whole idea, what I thought, kind of changed. Now, this is not me absorbing the coach of anything, because again, I've never been a Tuchel fan. I think he's one of the more overrated coaches. But let's just talk about this specific game and what it meant. Now, again, the coach has been lambasted all over the world. But my issue is that I'm not hearing, I think the players have been totally left off the hook. And I'll tell you why. So now, let's get into the game. Now, let's go straight to when the first goal was scored by Garden. This goal was scored, I think, in the 57th minute. Right? Now, we're led to believe that, by listening to these analysts, that it was at that point that England changed and the coach decided to look, let's just defend our one goal lead, which was not the case. Because I'm watching that game, that goal was scored against the runner play. So it's not like England was playing this earth-shattering football. They were really somewhat defensive at that point. Argentina had the upper hand and was on the front foot. So again, they scored against the runner play. So at that point now, they instantly went to park the bus. Now, based on what I've heard from both the players and the coach, this was not a directive from the coach. The players took it up and they said, maybe it's a default setting. They said, look here, let's just protect what we have right now. Right? So this was not a directive from the coach. No, you can say to the coach should be able to tell them to push up and so forth. And maybe he was. But the players, again, in their default setting, decided to look here, we're going to defend what we have. Right? Another thing I've heard to beat at the coach is that the changes that he made were all defensive. Now, in looking back at the game, what I've realized was that the first defensive change that came on when he brought on two defenders was done 20 minutes after the goal was scored by Garden. And even before then, Argentina had hit the post twice. The keeper had to make one or two saves. So I'm saying that the bus was already parked. The bus was already parked. So the changes was in an effort to try to stem that, because they're already in a defensive shell already. Now, my issue with the defensive change, the changes, is not necessarily defensive. The problem that he put on two defenders and went to a back five. My issue was that if he wanted to do that, he needed to change the personnel. One of which he needed to take off Harry Kane because they needed legs. Now the Harry Kane matter, that's something I will address later on in the podcast, so I'm going to leave it there. Let's leave that at Exhibit B. Now, when the coach made those changes, right, I went to a back five, right? Where I don't know if you are aware that 19 minutes, I want to listen to me very carefully, 19 minutes into in the game, England had not made two successive, the most successive pass they've made is two successive passes consecutively. Two. And those two passes were the keeper passing to John Stones and John Stones passing back to the keeper. Now, you can blame the coach all you want for about his tactics and so forth. But my God, you think the coach told them not to pass the ball to each other? And you have players there that cost over millions of dollars, supposed to be international, super class, world class footballers that can't make a pass to point A to point B and point B to point C. In 19 minutes worth of World Cup semi-final, you can't make two successive passes. And then I'm hearing the coaches to be blamed. A player that cannot even hold up a ball, draw a foul. We're talking about Harry Kane, Bellingham, Rice. All of these players supposed to be worth in today's football market over $100 million. And they can't do that. And again, is the coach is to be blamed. The coach brought on defenders, right? Went to a back five. I want you to remember this. The average height of the back three is about 6'3" inches. The average height of the Argentinian team is about 5'6", 5'7", right? And if you should take out Romero, that it plummets to probably a 0.4. But I digress. Yet still, every cross that came in the box met the head of an Argentina player. No, again, is that the coach? Is that the coach that a 6'7" Dan Burns can't get a head on the ball? When these guys were playing against Mexico, they looked like Iniesta. They looked like Franco Baresi, Maldini. All of these put into one. No, in a World Cup semi-final, they can't put the head against a ball, against some 5'6", 5'5" players. And again, the coach is to be blamed. And say again, you can't hit the ball for whatever reason. You can't stop the cross from coming in. You literally can't stop a cross from coming in. No. I looked at both goals that the Argentinians scored, right? And the first goal that Enzo scored, that I would really love for you guys to just look back at the goal. Not just the goal, just the highlights. Up before that goal was scored, Enzo got that ball in the same position about 3 times. One, the keeper saved one, I think it touched the bar, and the third one scored. Now I'm saying, as a player, you see a player of that quality constantly taking shots to your goal at that same position. Basically, most of the time, a short corner, and then do the same thing. And nobody said, look here, let's stop that from happening. And again, we're talking about the coach. The second goal that scored, Lionel Messi tried to make a cross. It came back out and it went almost to the line. And Lionel Messi, a 39-year-old, ran to the ball, turned. Keep in mind, England had 2 wing backs playing that position right there. Turned, attacked, and could be able to put in a square. And nobody stopped that. And again, that is the coach's responsibility. And again, this is not me taking any blame away from the players. I'm just saying that at what point personal responsibility steps in. The coach can only put you in certain positions. You as the player has to step up. I mentioned the Mexico game, and I mentioned that the coach employed the same tactics with 10 men, and he was applauded for it. The same Dan Burns, same John Stones, and they played very well. In this situation, they lost. The coach is being blamed solely because he should take some responsibility. That is the issue that I'm having. Now, let's move back to Exhibit A. I showed you those stats in terms of the England losses in major games. Just to show you the history of these particular players, because most of these players have been the nucleus of the England side. And they have lost in the same fashion over and over. And this is not, Tuchel wasn't the coach at that time. You understand? So I'm just trying to give you an example that these players are not winners, they are not losers. When the competitive nature steps in, when it really matters, they draw into a shell. And we just have to call a spade a spade. The English team has not beaten a top 10 team in the world in a competitive game from 1998. You understand what I'm saying to you? So they've basically been beaten up on and bullying smaller nations and accumulating stats, and then we say these players are world class, where they have not shown us that. And again, it's easy to part the buck on the coach, because again, ultimately he's the head and so forth. But I'm saying, where does the players step in? Where? Now, I mentioned Hurricane, and to be honest, I've always thought that Hurricane, very good footballer. But my issue has always been that I don't think he should be compared when we put in with that hemisphere of footballers. That's a level that Messi, that Ronaldo, that Thierry Henry. No, I don't think he's on that level. Statistically, yeah. But when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, he's always lost. And when the big moments are there, he chokes. And I'm not saying he needs to score, but at least be a leader, step up, lead by example. And it's no coincidence that as soon as Hurricane left Spurs, they won a major honors, major silverware. The amount of semi-finals, both England and Spurs have been in with Hurricane leading, and they've come up chumps. It's a lot, trust me, it's a lot. And he has been the leader in all of these. So, for me personally, this is just my opinion, I don't think England would win any major silverware with Hurricane leading. If you should look at most teams that are winning silverware, they have winners as their leader, players that won't allow the team to lose, will do what it takes to win. And I don't think Hurricane has been that player, both as a club and for his country. I just don't. You'll give you the stats, you will score against the Liechtensteins and the Panamas and so forth. But when it comes down to what really matters, I really don't think. And I made a video earlier, I think one of my first videos, when I spoke about the fact that the elder statesman may be a hindrance or an asset to some of the teams. And in this game, I thought Hurricane was a hindrance. Because I thought that because the coach didn't want to substitute him, that kind of held the team hostage. And again, I just think England won't win anything until you have a leader that wants to win. And I think Bellingham looks the part. He looks like somebody who's willing to make the step forward. But I may be wrong, but I doubt it. Thanks again for joining me for another episode. See you next week, and big up yourself.